Hello on the Rockers. On this week's episode, it's Gregory Mathis Jr., entrepreneur and longtime political advocate, currently appearing on E! Network's Mathis Family Matters, featuring the lives of TV's Judge Mathis's bigger-than-life family. Greg is here to spill the tea in reality. Get it? With me, your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass and let the drinks begin. It's On the Rocks.
And most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Lord have mercy, buttons and bows and pantyhose, On the Rocks podcast, the place where we're too glam to give a damn. All right, you know I love some reality TV. Well, I have something very wholesome for you. Wholesome on this show? I know. Please welcome Greg Mathis Jr., born in Detroit, made his way to Washington, D.C., where his career in politics includes several years as a senior advisor in the U.S. State Senate, as well as previous work for two members of the United States House of Representatives and the President of the United States. During his time there, he worked directly to advance several key initiatives that he is passionate about, including funding for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, increasing direct mental health and general health care and support services to LGBTQ individuals, and authorizing the nation's first national program to better identify victims of human trafficking in healthcare settings. Most recently, he is now managing his family's various talent and business endeavors, his real estate businesses, and engaging in LGBTQ advocacy. He can be seen alongside his entire family and his partner and their two dogs, so cute, on E! Network's Mathis Family Matters on Sunday nights, featuring the family of TV's Judge Mathis. Now, this is reality TV at its most positive. No table flipping, no backstabbing, just good family time with a side of sass. Please welcome Gregory Mathis Jr.
Hello, how's it going?
Hello, sir. I'm glad you moved to LA just for you to go to New York to do this interview. Good planning. No, but it's very funny.
That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
Wait, well, before we start, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What are the ground rules for this interview? Because I know this is a drinking show, so I drank a little bit. I want to make sure I don't say anything too bad, you know.
You can say whatever you want, literally whatever you want. Everything goes. Nudity, if it's appropriate. I don't know.
Well,
your PR rep,
we're very wholesome.
Yeah.
Wholesome, so.
Your PR rep is gonna have a heart attack. But it's very funny. A big part of the story of the first season, the debut season of Mathis Family Matters, is how public do I want my life to be? And here you are, hot off the heels of the Today Show with your dad, major press tour that has not stopped. Not to mention now a major network show every week. What have you loved the most about the spotlight, and what have been some of your biggest challenges now being center stage?
Yeah, I have enjoyed the most people who have genuinely been, who've genuinely been touched or inspired by just seeing me live my life. And it surprises me almost every single time I get messages to my inbox on Instagram just about people who are saying that I helped them in their journey by being public with Elliot on the show, and you know our coming out journey. I was actually just at dinner with a buddy of mine who went to Michigan undergrad with me, and he was telling me how his younger brother just came out, and he was like, our entire family started watching the show because we were trying to figure out how to deal with this, and your show has helped us in that way. And so that's been the best part, is just knowing that it is making an actual difference. And the hardest part has been having the spotlight on me because I mean, look, none of us are perfect, and so it's a little scary when if you say something, tweet something, you do have all these people looking up to you and looking to you as an example, and so it's pressure to not want to say the wrong thing or not want to let folks down who may be looking to you for some sort of guidance or some, as a role model, quite frankly.
Well, and that really, there's that added pressure. It's like now you can't, like you and Elliot can't go out and be grumpy at a restaurant or get in a fight. You can't, go to the clubs in West Hollywood and get, messy. You can't bring a go-go boy home. I don't know if you guys do that, but there's like all this difference. It's like, and now you are a spokesperson for the Black community, for the LGBTQ community, and it's like, wow, it's like kind of.
To be clear, we can still do all of those things. It might just end up on the front page of the papers.
Well, yes, that is definitely true. Now, I want to know what inspired you to go into the political arena rather than, okay, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a judge, or I'm going to get on TV. Why politics?
I think it was a product of the way I grew up. I mean, my dad was in politics from a young age also. He ran a lot of political campaigns when I was growing up, and so I was around it. But also, when I was really young, I went to Detroit public schools up until about the age of when did we up until sixth grade, and then we moved out and went to suburban schools. And I can remember even at that age, I saw the difference in the school districts.
Mm.
I saw the resources that were so disparate between like the suburban, well-funded schools and the inner city schools, and it didn't make sense to me then. And I knew what the people who looked like that went to those different school districts as well. And so I always kind of had an eye for wanting to figure out how I could help other people. And that was like my first example. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, what can I do when I stopped going to inner city schools and went to suburban schools to help the kids that are still going to these inner city schools? And so I always had a little bit of a passion to just want to help people. And that really is the reason I started in politics. And yeah, so it was a passion from deep within, I would say.
And this is what I love about seeing the show. All of you have had successes in your own way. Very affluent family, of course. Bel Air and the Versace and all that. But there's this groundness to the family in terms of ideals and what you want from life, and it's very refreshing to see on TV. Now, when you went away to the University of Michigan, was that your first kind of time away from the family and on your own?
Oh wow, it was actually, yeah. I for an extended period, I actually had a great opportunity when I was in high school to go on a people to people trip for about a month, and that was the longest I had ever been away from my family before then. But going off to college was the first time I was that far because my parents had moved to Los Angeles by that point actually, and so they weren't even, we originally grew up in Michigan,
Yeah.
but by the point I went to undergrad, they were all the way out in California. So that was my first time being all along.
That must have been an adjustment from having, this crowd around you, so to speak. And now it's like, okay, now you are on your own. You're your own person. Let's see what you got. And then you kind of feeling out what your voice is and who you really are. Did you get into shenanigans?
Of course I did. It's college. Who didn't, But and I actually ended up having a pretty big friend group there. I think because I was raised in such a big, close-knit family. That was one of the first things I sought out when I was an undergrad, is wanting to find a close-knit friend circle. And thank God I successfully did that. And most of the people I met there freshman year, I'm still friends with to this very day. That's one of the guys I was just telling you I left dinner with actually here in New York. I got to catch up with one of my buddies from undergrad.
Well, and you were in a frat, yes?
Yes, I was.
Now, we know from stereotypes that frats can be very bro-y. How were you dealing with that kind of atmosphere and also dealing with your sexuality at that point?
I love that question because one thing that I did is I never lived in the frat house. I lived in an apartment. Actually, if you know the University of Michigan, there's kind of a few campuses. There's a North Campus and a Central Campus, and I was actually dating someone the majority of time I was in undergrad, and nobody knew. He actually ended up joining the same fraternity as me about a year after me, and we kind of passed off that way. But we were roommates on North Campus, kind of away from everybody else, so we were able to separate our lives to a certain extent when everyone else was, and nobody really had a clue the entire time I was an undergrad.
Well, it's funny. Part of the show is you making the public announcement that you are gay with your partner, who was also kind of not in the closet, but not really out and about it as well. Now, when did you, though, in your personal life, know for yourself? I know because I grew up in very conservative Orange County, conservative religious background, very conservative Mexican family. Being gay wasn't even a term that I even knew. I didn't know what these feelings were. At what point in your life did you kind of realize, hey, these are gay feelings and I'm a gay man? Just for yourself, not to anybody else.
Oh, I mean, I knew when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
Like from a very young age, I knew that like as soon as I probably started to, I want to say it was around 5. I can't put an exact age on it, but I just remember being young and I think it was, just horsing around or whatever the case was. And I remember being attracted to a guy. And I remember thinking at that young age, I was like, oh no, this is bad. This is wrong. I can't tell anybody about this. I'm not supposed to be doing this, because at that point, I mean, I would have been teased and bullied like crazy if I had ever expressed those feelings at that age. And I talk about this on the show a little bit, but I actually went to, the church I went to at the time. The pastor would speak frequently about how people who were homosexual were, it was against what the Bible taught,
Right.
and that, we were going to hell and it was abomination. And I actually would go home after church frequently, and I would try and pray not to be gay. And I'll say this, since this is an evening show,
Yeah, please
nighttime
do.
show,
Yes.
I used to actually, at a certain age, when I started watching, adult films and porn, I would watch intentionally. I would watch porn that didn't even have guys in it. I would try and watch like girl on girl porn just to see if I was interested, if I was aroused, because that's how much I wanted to not be gay. I was like, well, maybe if I watch this, I won't be gay. And
It's almost like you were doing your own conversion therapy. And my worst nightmare is girl on girl porn and nothing else, by the way. That's my worst nightmare.
So you said what? You said what?
That's my worst nightmare is girl on girl only porn. And it's like nothing else. It's like, no, click next. And I have to say,
I'm not gonna say it's my worst nightmare, but it did not work for me.
clearly. I have to say, when I found out about the show, I'm a huge fan of your dad's show, and I found out, and the headline was, his gay son. It really took me aback, and I don't know why. And other people that I told, hey, I'm interviewing Greg today, and he's from the Mathis Family Matters, and I'm like, oh, he came out. There was just like, oh, really? There's this shock. And I'm like, why are we so shocked? And I guess it's because we have the assumption that homophobia in the black community is still very prevalent. And it is a big deal to come out in a black family, in a black community. How has your culture kind of affected your relationship with your sexuality? And do you think walls are coming down between minority groups?
I'm not going to sit here and say I can paint like a broad brush for how our entire community feels, but I can speak from personal experience, which is that to me, the way I was raised, the Black church was very important to me. It was the anchor of our family, the anchor of many of our communities. And I know even with Elliot and his journey, it was similar from that aspect. And being raised in the South, it was even amplified for him to a certain extent. Because, in the South, even more than where I was raised in Michigan, it's like you get raised, you kind of go off to college, and once you leave high school, you're kind of expecting, like, okay, who's the girl? When are you getting married?
Right.
You're expected to be bringing home a wife and having a family pretty soon after you graduate high school. And if if you're not going to college, or if you are going to college, pretty soon after that. And so I just know, in talking to him, there was that added pressure. And I think in a lot of, from my personal experience in the Black community, that is a reality. People want to know who you're bringing home, when are you having children, and you get those questions, and it's amplified in the close-knit church community. And, there's obviously still those strong feelings in a lot of churches that this is a sin and there is something wrong with homosexuality. So I would say, in my experience, it's been that mixture of Black families wanting their relatives to have a family, to have a strong Black family as well, and then the fact that we are so rooted in the church, which I continue to be. I go to church every Sunday.
Wow.
I'm very strong in my faith, but I just have a different interpretation than I think a lot of other people might.
Now, how have you balanced that? Because I was deeply entrenched in my religion, and I've lost my faith. I'm not religious, and I know that's a typical story of gay men that have dealt with religion. So how do you kind of couple the religious aspect with your sexuality? How have you overcome that kind of division?
For me, it's more of a question of, I know I can't allow bigots to push me away from my faith. At the end of the day, this is the way. I didn't create who I am, even though I love who I am. God created me this way. And so I know that to be true. And I know I didn't choose this for myself. And who am I to question the way God made me? And so to me, it's always been more of a reflection on the people who are judging me and their misinterpretation of Christianity than it is on myself and who I am. Um, I think there's a lot of things that the Bible says, a lot of things that are written in there that we don't necessarily interpret to the word of it was a. Otherwise, I think society and even the church would look a lot differently. And so that's always been my approach is that I know I have to develop my own relationship with God, and that's what's most important to me, not necessarily what someone else is telling me I should believe when it comes to my faith.
It was very interesting to me. I'm a SoCal boy. I'm an LA boy for that's just who I am. And we're kind of in a bubble where we think equality is getting so much better. And what seeing the show, seeing you so young, so affluent, so educated, with the support of your dad, with your family, that you yourself were the most reticent in kind of making this public statement. I'm like, wow, that's really an indication as to what's really going on in the nation and how certain LGBTQ individuals have this self-imposed kind of not shame, but like there is a fear in coming out. And I wanted to know from you, do you think that was propagated by your time in politics as well?
So I think I will say this. I feel like now that I've made the step, that I put myself out there, I'm living authentically. Um, I was probably more afraid than I should have been, because I would tell you the response to us coming out has been overwhelmingly, I mean, 98% positive. There's been, and the part that hasn't been positive are just the majority of like faceless internet trolls that always feel like they can say,
Right.
whatever they want to say to people. And so the response has been overwhelmingly positive. I think what took me so long to take that step is really just dealing with the trauma that I didn't even know I had from
Right.
growing up. I mean, being told for so long that there was something wrong with me, that the way I was living was wrong, that I think it was more of me having to unpack all of that trauma to get to a place where I was comfortable enough with myself than that made me feel like there was so much of a burden on my back when it came to the rest of society.
Well, and we know. Well, look what's happening in the nation. That politics, even our supporters, it still can be a very homophobic environment, especially in Washington D.C., especially in the White House. No matter what side you're on, we know
And yeah,
homophobia is just rampant.
it's gonna roll back our marriage rights potentially, and it hurts me so much to see what's happening in our schools to these youth, because we know that, I mean, the data is clear that when you're in that when you're in your youth and you're being rejected, quite frankly, and told that there's something wrong with you, you're not allowed to talk about being gay, there isn't that support for you. We know that that makes it more likely, unfortunately, that LGBTQs will suffer from depression, may, you know, die by suicide or have a suicide attempt. And, it, I hate to see that so many folks that are pushing this rhetoric are doing it to protect children, when in reality it's doing the exact opposite. I think in my experience talking with the Gen Zers and the folks after them, I mean, they're
Hmm.
probably the most progressive and open-minded generation we've had in a very long time. But it's the folks who are kind of older than them and the generations above us who are really pushing back and trying to um, take away so much of the progress that we have made. Because I agree with you, I think we've made a lot of progress, but there are still elements of our society that are unhappy with that progress and are working very, very hard to push it back.
I want to go back to your success in the political realm. You started off super young. You were an intern, then you worked yourself up to staff assistant. Your first job was for U.S. Rep. Jesse Jackson Jr. Do you remember your first day as an intern? It's like your first step into an actual political office. What did you wear? What was going on?
It was so bad. Oh, it was really bad. I remember I was an intern in Jesse Jackson Jr.'s office, and my first day, I was so excited. If you all have ever been to DC in the middle of the summer, it is piping hot, and that's when all the
Yes.
interns come to DC. So I'm thinking, I'm going to put on this great outfit. I'm thinking I'm looking great. I'm so excited for my first day. And I mean, it just shows how naive I was at that time. I should have known better. But I put on, some nice shoes, and I put on a nice pair of what I think of nice khaki shorts with a nice polo, because they said we didn't have to wear a suit that day, but wear casual. So I'm thinking, khaki shorts, a nice polo shirt is casual. Um, I walk into the office and I got in so much trouble. The first thing they say is, "Why are you wearing shorts in the office?" And my face just dropped, and I was so embarrassed. It ended up being a great intern experience, but that always stands out to me because here I am walking in bright-eyed, bushy-tailed on my first day as an intern, and that's literally the first story I have. And they say, "You're lucky the chief of staff's not here because he would have sent you right home, but I'm gonna let you stay for the day, but don't ever wear shorts in the office again."
Well, hey, your career certainly worked. What is one of your favorite political moments that happened during your political career?
So my favorite moment was I was actually on the Senate floor the night that John McCain, or right off the Senate floor, the night that John McCain to voted no on repealing the Affordable Care Act. And I did a lot of domestic policy issues, and healthcare fell in my portfolio when I was working in the United States Senate. And that was a really special moment because I mean, we fought so hard for that. I worked on President Obama's reelection campaign in Ohio. That was probably one of my other best moments, is the night that we won Ohio. That was the last time the Democratic Party's won Ohio, unfortunately. But that was a special moment. You know, we thought that the bill was going to get gutted. We had all types of emergency plans in place for what the heck we were going to do when all these people lost access to their health care coverage. I mean, it really would have decimated folks in a way that I don't think we could imagine, the fact of just having your health care ripped out from under you like that. And so that was definitely one of the best nights because it was so unexpected. We thought the law was gone for sure, and John McCain came in there and rest his soul, saved the day. And I mean, we partied like it was 1999 that night.
Girl, you weren't even born in 1999. I don't know. Just kidding.
You want to know how I know I was born? Because I remember when you remember Y2K?
Yeah, yes, I do. Yes.
I remember me and my brother, I would have been 10 years old at that time, looking up at the sky, thinking the world was going to end. And then when the clock struck midnight and we saw the planes still flying in the sky, we were like, okay, I guess things are okay.
Now, why did you leave politics? Working as entrenched as you were, why did you leave that? And would you ever run for office?
Ooh. Would I run for office? I would never say never to anything. And I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say I've left politics completely. I mean, I definitely still take my advocacy very seriously. But I think everything has a season, and I'm excited for what is going to be next for me. I'm going to be able to really have an impact in a different way, both in my advocacy from the LGBTQ perspective, but I'm excited to get to work with my family on some projects. Obviously we have Mathis Family Matters on E, but also my dad has a production company, and I'm working with him on some projects that I think I'll bring a unique perspective to it with my background, both in the LGBTQ space, but also having a background in politics. And my brother has one as well. So I think I'm really excited for the opportunity to work with my family, but also to have an impact in a different way.
I love that so much. I have such a love-hate relationship with labels. I can see how it helps a kid out in the middle of nowhere with a city with, no other gay people. But I also see the other side, such as, I have to say, most of the headlines about you and the show included your sexuality as part of the headline. Many of the media questions, what we're talking about right now, are that you and your dad have answered on the show, are about your coming out. Does that get, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but does it get a little tiring? Like, yeah, I'm gay, yes, that's one piece of all this, but I'm all of this.
Mm-hmm. So, no, I love that question because and I'm not going to say it gets tiring, because one of the reasons I did want to do this show is because I know that putting myself out there in that particular way will help people and save a lot of lives. I think, even from the feedback I've heard and conversations I've had, I know it's really helping people to know or to see my story. I mean, representation is important, and I know how valuable it would have been to me growing up and on my journey to see someone like me on television, someone that was living their life authentically, someone that was open about their struggles with their sexuality and how difficult it was to get to this point, and how I'm still a work in progress. So I do appreciate the questions on that front. But to your point, and I talked about this on an interview, I think it was when I was on Daily Pop a bit back, but I said, now that process is done, I'm excited to just get to living my life, and not having to kind of revisit that constantly. It's like, okay, I've come out of the closet, I
Yeah.
am who I am now. In season 2, season 3, future seasons of Mathis Family Matters, what I'm excited for the world to see is, yeah, I'm gay, but there's so much more to me than that. Like I talked about before, I'm going to be I'm working on projects with my dad now, and we're going to have exciting things that we're doing. I mean, my Elliot is more than just being gay. He's an engineer and has an entire great career. And so I am really looking forward to people to get to see those different layers and get to know me in a different way than, to your point, just, the gay son of Judge Greg Mathis.
Just to spill a little tea on my side, the show, Amir's like like the baby, whatever, or, everybody loves. And then you kind of stole the show, I have to say. That's just from my point of view. You don't have to say anything about it. But I was like, oh, we see where the show's focused on. Okay, we see you stealing the spotlight. Do you know what I am looking forward to most in season 2?
Getting to know, no, let me think.
It's not as deep as you think. It's seen more of Elliot's biceps. Girl, those guns, boom, boom.
So more tank tops from you.
Yes.
That's your notes for season 2. More tank tops for Elliot.
Now, I come from the reality TV world that I love Housewives, and I tend to like the drama, the trashier side of reality TV. Binge watching this the way that I've been able to. Like I said at the beginning of the show, there's no backstabbing. There's no family drama that's tearing you guys down. The drama is not really drama. It's like showing kind of the successes that you're working through and the obstacles that we all have to deal with and how you come through that as a family. It's so refreshing. But what made you say yes to a reality show? Because it's not just saying yes to a reality show. It's saying yes to, it's changed your life, like from where you're living to everything. So what made you say yes? And also, why do we need a show like Mathis Family Matters on TV right now?
Yeah. So my younger brother, Amir, is, he's an executive producer. He worked on Steve Harvey's talk show for a while. It's done a number of other productions. And he came to our family with this concept. I can't remember exactly how long ago, but let's say, a few years ago. And at first we were super reluctant to do it. Everybody was like, no, like we're not putting our lives out there like that. But he came with a unique perspective of like, look, we have a super close-knit family. Like we have a lot of fun together. We love each other. And he ultimately convinced us that we had something to offer the world that was different than what we do see on TV. And he sold us on that, quite frankly. I think from my dad's perspective, and he talks about this a lot, he was probably one of the most reluctant to want to do this. And he just said that he eventually said yes because everybody else finally got on board. And he said, I didn't think Amir was going to be able to do it because Amir went out and sold the show and kind of made it happen all on his own. And so that is the genuine way of which this came together. It was partially, Amir being able to convince us that this was something that would be positive. It really gave us an opportunity to, just showcase a positive family. I'm not going to say we're perfect because we're not. We got our issues that we work through. We have things that we, go back and forth on. And I think that's healthy for the world to see also. But that was the big point, I think, that got most of us, is that we just had something to offer that was slightly different than what you see on a lot of reality TV shows.
For sure. Okay, quickly, you and Elliot have been together for 6+ years, not just with the struggles of being a gay couple and then publicly coming out. Now it's all on camera, and now you're on this media tour. All eyes are on you. What kind of tips can you give? Because COVID was a testing time for a lot of relationships. It really was. And so I want your tips as a couple, how to maintain a healthy relationship for as long as you have, and also dealing with the outside pressures of the world, how you are working through that successfully.
Yeah. So ours really came down to being able to communicate. And when I say that, it's not just, us telling each other how we feel about things,
Right.
but really communicating in a way that we're talking, but also listening to what the other person is trying to say and making sure we understand it and that we're being attentive to it. I mean, it's so communication, but also compromise. And I mean, Elliot and I are both open about this. It's like we haven't had the easiest road. It's been 6 years, but there were years where we were looking at each other like, I don't know if we're going to make it through this year. And so we really had to do the work to get to where we are today. And that included couples therapy that we did. I think that was maybe year 3 and 4 of our relationship, where we did pretty intense couples therapy. And through that process, we got to the point of being able to communicate with each other, understanding what the other needed from, what he needed from me and what I needed from him. And when you can figure that out and you're willing to compromise and you can meet in the middle and really communicate in a way that's healthy and not toxic, I think that has been our key to a long relationship because, look, we're all different. We all have our wants, needs, desires, and we all get annoyed. We all get irritated. We have good days, bad days. And so for us, it's really been about how do we take care of each other? How do we communicate with each other? How do we communicate when we're not in the best place? And how do we ask for help? And that's really been the linchpin of us, is being able to support each other and rely on each other and just have that healthy communication.
Well, in every relationship, whether it's with your family, whether it's with your best friend, whether it's with your partner, lover, whatever, there's always ups and downs. What I love is how your relationship was presented. I think a lot of times we always see gay couples, whether it's a scripted or reality TV, we see the hyper version of what a relationship is, or a hyper version of this drama. And we see the relationship just as a regular, normal relationship, which it is. And so it's refreshing to see this kind of, it's part of the fabric that makes up this whole family.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to sharing more of that with the world. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it feels, it can feel invasive at times, and it requires definitely a lot of vulnerability. But I think it's important to show, because you don't see a lot of that, particularly when it comes to same-sex relationships. You don't see a lot of just what we try and put forth, which is ourselves. We're not trying to put on in a certain way. We try and be as open as we can and as honest as we can and authentic as we can. And I think that's important for folks to see.
One thing I can say about the Mathis family, it seems like you guys are only drinking margaritas all the time. What's with margaritas?
Well, tonight I got tequila soda.
It's still, it's like a margarita light, but it's like,
I know.
It's like, damn, I want to hang out with them.
Someone told one of us that tequila is the healthiest liquor to drink.
It is.
It's stuck.
Yeah, it is.
We all like being healthy. This tastes good. But the problem is, I think some of my family members didn't understand that tequila is not so healthy when you dump a bunch of sugar and make it a margarita.
I know.
And so that's why I try and stick with my tequila sodas, but every now and then I'll treat myself with a margarita.
I'm like, oh, there's another margarita. Okay, finally, do you and Elliot watch reality TV? If so, what shows are you watching?
So right now we watch The Housewives of Atlanta. I love that show. That's one of my favorites. We do watch Married to Medicine. That's another one that we enjoy. What else? We love the Love and Marriage series by Carlos King.
Yeah.
Especially the one in DC, because we spent, we used to live in DC,
right.
And so we got a special attachment to that. What else do we watch in reality? I mean, I'll just throw it out there. I'm definitely a Kardashian OG, and I know that's a guilty pleasure. So I still keep up with the Kardashians every now and then.
I use that as a thing. It's like you guys are the exact opposite of the Kardashians. It's like this wholesome goodness. Still got the booties though.
So you like to see things that are a little different from you. You know.
The only thing you guys share with the Kardashians are those booties. It's like booty, 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 left, right.
Well, but never mind.
I think I know what you're going to say. All right, Greg, give us your Real Housewife Atlanta tagline.
Ooh, don't let this cute face fool you.
That's it? There's no punchline?
I don't know. What? I'm so bad at taglines.
I love it. I love it so much. Thank you so much for spending time with us. The finale.
After that.
Yeah, and the finale of Mathis Family Matters is coming up, but you can binge watch all the episodes like I did, and it was such a joy. Where do you want people to find you and follow you?
So I am Greg Mathis Jr., just Greg Mathis Jr. across all of my social media platforms. I'm on Instagram, Twitter. I'm most fun on TikTok, I think, and so check me out.
Oh, just real fast, your PR rep's going to kill me. I got so many questions, the same kind of question sent to me in different ways. How have your DMs changed since you've been on TV? And they're talking about, you guys are probably getting naughty DMs.
I mean, 90% of them have been positive. They've been like, thank you for sharing your story. It's really helped me. It's been along that vein. But there are there's a good portion that I'm like, do you all not see that I'm in a full-on relationship? Like, do you all not see this big ass man that will take you to town if you say the wrong thing? Like, think you need to.
But I love it.
And
It's
so
like,
those. I leave those unread because you know, thank God on Instagram you can see the beginning.
oh yes, mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
those I just either delete or you scroll right by them.
I love that too. It's like, oh, I didn't get your message. Yes, I did. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope to see you roaming around LA. We'll grab a margarita, and for everybody, watch Mathis Family Matters. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, that has been our chat with Gregory Mathis Jr. It's always a grab bag of fun here on The Rocks. Big thank you to our fabulous guest. Also, coming up next week, we have two-time Tony Award winner Judy Kaye is here. Five-decade career. She's appeared in Phantom, Wicked, Cinderella, Mamma Mia, and more. So until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy. More importantly, stay tipsy. It's On The Rocks. This has been another episode of On The Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On The Rocks On Air. Find everything On The Rocks for free at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.